Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Build Your Copywriting Business podcast. Hello, friends.
Hello.
Hello. As always, I am joined by my super spectacular co-host, Kate Satars. Hello, Kate.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. And today we have the pleasure of being joined by CCA student extraordinaire, copywriter extraordinaire, also attorney extraordinaire, Leslie Schlotman. Hello, Leslie.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it.
I know. I think you're our first attorney, which is very exciting.
Oh, really? I've seen a couple attorneys like in the group with I'll talk to them and I'm like, oh, there's another one, that's great.
Yes, actually, maybe that's a good place to kind of dig in since we're talking about it. Do you see any natural overlap in terms of skills between attorneys and copywriters?
Yeah, well, all sorts of attorneys out there. I am a litigation attorney. I do family law litigation, and we do a lot of writing. So, most of my day is spent writing. So I'm either, working on a pleading for a client declaration, trying to ask for or oppose a request for like support or, some property issue or custody. And if I'm not doing that, I'm working on discovery and trying to figure out like what's, what we need and how to write that, or, just writing letters to, opposing parties and to the clients. And so it's a lot of writing and it's a lot of persuasive writing. You're trying to convince the judge or even the other side, they're in pro per if they have an attorney. Hopefully the idea is to settle what you can. So you want to be persuasive. It's expensive. Like, nobody wants to go to trial and spend $50,000 in trial fees. So, we try to settle, we try to be persuasive. If we have to go to court and get temporary orders, we have to convince the judge of that. And so, yeah, I do see a lot of overlap with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Of course, persuasion, right? It's all persuasion. It's all sales.
Yeah.
So then tell us about your legal career and then how you decided to start making that transition into an additional career.
So, we'll just go way back. I think as a kid, you're asked, even in preschool, because I have kids that just, went through preschool. You're asked like the first day, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's like the first thing, it's like kids have such a limited understanding of what's out there. Oh, you wanted to be an attorney or a doctor or a police officer. It's very these very same answers every time. And for me, looking back, I'm like, I have no idea if I ever knew what I wanted to be as a kid. But in high school, I knew I wanted a stable career. I had, seen other people struggle, maybe going to college, maybe not, but not knowing what to do afterwards. And I thought, I can be an attorney. I'm pretty confident I can do that. And, even if I have to take out a loan, I can do that. I can be an attorney and be, somewhat successful. And so I just made a decision early on, sort of for the stability reasons, to go to law school. And that's not a good reason. Maybe it is for some people, but you want to actually be good at what you do or enjoy what you do. And I got out of law school and I started working, and I swear within 6 months, I was like regretting my decision. I was like, this is not good. So I was actually starting to look for other things really early on, almost left the whole career, the full field. And then I ended up getting a job with a firm who I'm actually still working with part-time. They're amazing. I love them. It kind of changed how I felt about the law, but I still wasn't happy with it. Still not suited for it. It's a lot of fighting. I'm not a conflict. I don't like conflict. I hate it. Like, I will run the other way. If my husband's arguing with somebody, I'm like, I'm running. Like, I'm not going to be in another room. So having to be in litigation, doing litigation for a long time, it just wasn't, I just became increasingly unhappy. And it got to a point where I think it was I don't know. It's been so long that I wanted to make a change, but it was during the pandemic where we started working from home for the first time. And I started having more time on my hands because we have so many clients. And I started thinking this might be the time to do something to make a change. I had 2 girls. One had turned 1. And I knew I had to do something different because I would come home from the office at 6:30, 6:45. They go to bed at 7:30 now. I'd see him for like an hour if I were still doing that. And so I just like, I had to do something else. And I started looking into it. And I mean, that's the thing. I feel like for years, I've tried to figure out what I want to do if it's not being an attorney. I didn't know. Like, I had no idea. It was that was the problem for me. I think it was just like, I felt stuck being an attorney, not just because, all this stuff, like the loans and everything, because I didn't have like a good idea of what else was out there, or nothing just felt like right. I was like, oh, like I think a lot of people say like they like to write, and I do like to write, and I feel like I'm pretty good at it, but I'm like, what is out there? And then I stumbled upon a video, and I'm sorry to say it was a competitor video. It wasn't yours, Nikki.
All right.
But I liked it and I didn't like it because I was like, this is interesting, but they were talking about finding a niche and like niche, like, getting stuck in like one niche. And that's what happened to me. I was stuck in family law. I was stuck in as being an attorney. And I was like, I hated that idea. I was like, well, this whole like industry sounds interesting, but like, I can't do that. So I kept looking, and then I came across your video, and the rest is history. It sounded amazing. And so I bought the course and signed up, started taking the classes.
Yeah, good for you. I mean, it's kind of like when you're trying to think of a new career, it's like when they first ask you in kindergarten, like, what do you want to do? Okay, what else do you want to do? If you've been doing one job for so long, it is kind of hard to think, okay, well, what else is out there? Because just by nature of the fact that you've been working, or one has been working in a career, you're focused in that area. So then to suddenly go, okay, what do you want to do? It can be kind of overwhelming. Sometimes it takes some time to do a little bit of looking around, a little bit of bit of exploration. And honestly, too, that exploration can be kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, I did. I think it was like 10 years ago. This has been like such a long process. 10 years ago, I did, I'm in California, and the California State Bar pays for like career counseling services because they know attorneys are going to need it. So I had some friends who had left sort of practice, and I had a couple appointments with them, and we took like all the tests that, to figure out your personality type and like what you do. And I think the result was like law librarian. And I was like, this sounds awful. Plus it requires like a lot of schooling too. And I'm like, this is not, no. So I was like, oh, I'm stuck. And then, 10 more years went by.
Well, it's hard too, of like, who do you know and what do they do? And if I didn't know any copywriters before I landed a job and happened to meet Nikki, but like, how do you know what you don't, until you meet someone who makes,
you don't even know.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And to even search for it, I feel like sure, maybe a starting point, but I think of like the person who designs roller coasters. Like, if you don't know that that's a human and that's a job, how do you even know that that's an option?
I always think about that when I see like a movie and you see the credits. You're like, look at all these jobs that people found these jobs. Like, how did they figure that out? Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's kind of similar to copywriting, because you watch a movie and okay, there's someone, yes, there's the camera operator, there's the person who also, the multiple people who are in charge of the microphones, but it doesn't, you don't go, and it's the same thing. You could be actually reading an ad for something, but it doesn't occur to us that, oh yeah, somebody has to write, somebody has to design that, somebody has to write that, somebody has to sell that ad space, somebody has to buy that ad space. There's so many careers around us that are kind of hidden one layer back from all of the things that we look at every single day.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, it's funny. I've said it to my mom, like I've explained it to her like 5 times. She has no idea what I do now. And I'm like, I feel like I'm like Chandler Bing. Like, my mom has no idea what I do. It's like, I keep trying to explain it to her. But I remember when I saw the video and I was like telling my husband I wanted to do copywriting. He was like, oh yeah, like he knew. I was like, why didn't you tell me? This whole, like, this job existed. But yeah.
You could have saved me years of trouble searching for this. He wanted you to find it on your own. The journey is the destination, right?
Right.
So once you got started and started digging into it, what was your impression of it as you were learning and as you were practicing your skills?
I remember doing that DoorDash assignment, and I was stuck. I was just like, this is so hard for me. And I think I was overthinking it, but it was like the first one. And I'm like, oh gosh, I have so much to learn. like, yeah, I write a lot, but this is not the kind of writing I do. This is a whole different, similar, but different techniques, different goals, different skill set. And so, I mean, it took me 3 years to become an attorney. It took me how many years of being an attorney to figure out how to be an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
So I figure when I started, the course and doing the assignments, like it was going to take me some time, and that's totally fine with me. Like I was fine with that. I mean, I enjoyed it for sure, but it was just like, yeah, this is going to be, it's worth it, but I'm going to have to put in the effort to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Isn't it funny that as it's as adults, we know that we don't know something and we're going to have to learn it, but we still get into it and we go, oh, I don't know this. I'm going to have to learn this. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Do you have advice for people in that place? Because I think that comes up a lot. And I think there's either people that at that stage are like, oh, they either do what you did and buckle down and say, you know what, I'm going to take the steps and I'm going to get there. And even if it's 15, 30 minutes a day, whatever, I'm going to move closer to my goal. Versus I think then there's the other camp where it can be, you just feel like, forget it. And then, maybe a year later, you're like, oh, actually, I should have kept with that because I do really want to do this.
Yeah.
But I didn't get over that kind of roadblock, really.
I think you see a lot of success stories, and some people, it comes quicker than others. And so then I think the idea is that it will come quicker to everybody. And that's not the case. Those are kind of like, it's like those celebrities who are, found, and it's like at their first movie role. And that doesn't happen to most people. And I guess my advice would just be, remember why you went into it, why you bought the course. What was that? What were those emotions? What was driving you? Because there was a reason, and there was an important reason. And if it was that important, it's important to put in the work and put in the time to do it. So I guess my advice would be sort of dream with your eyes wide open sort of thing, like it's, work for those dreams, let's put in the time, make it happen, but also know that it's not going to happen overnight and have a plan for it. If you need to work full time because you can't quit, but then you work full time and you maybe work in the evenings. But I know what it's like because I had to do it. I have 2 kids. I had a job. You just have to. It's exhausting sometimes, but is it worth it? Yeah, if it's worth it, then you got to do it. Do the practical thing. Be smart about it before you jump in.
Love it. Absolutely. Well, and I was just going to say,
I think we're going to say the same thing.
Probably. Spoiler alert. It was challenging. You learned new things, but it's turned out pretty well for you. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of the work that you've been doing, some of the how your copywriting career has evolved since you started working with clients?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's still surreal to me to be like, oh yeah, I have a copywriting career. Like I'm a copywriter. This is for someone who just felt stuck for so long. Like that's such an amazing feeling. So yeah, I think I bought the course in like April of 2021, so it was a little while ago. And I didn't, took me a while to get through it and, get my website up. And I got my first job. I was doing freelance. I got a job for Success Magazine.
Cool.
Which I was really excited about. I was like, oh, this is a name I know. And, it's publication. It's great. They needed help with some emails. And I worked for them for about 8 months doing mostly email, but, little like some print copy. Sometimes they needed like, some website copy. And then, so that lasted about 8 months, and they had like a change of leadership. So some of these things, they were changing. So anyway, right after that, I ended up getting some freelance work for a writing agency in Georgia. And it's like all these stepping stones. Like I'm pretty sure I got that because of the Success Magazine position, because the writing agency needed help with emails. I had been writing for Success. I knew what I was talking about. Like when they talked to me, like I had experience. Like I could actually talk about it. And so I still get some work for them, like whenever they need help. But I think it was about, it's been like 10, no, it's been more. It's like 11 months ago I started. I sent out my resume to a couple of places. Like I wasn't spending a lot of time looking for a job. I was still like, I was like toying with the idea of like pitching more. And I had seen this job on one of those job sites. And I just it was like late at night, and I saw it and I was like, you know what, this sounds really great. Like I looked at their clients and I recognized one of the clients that they write for, and I was like, I love them. Like I love that company. So I was like, I'm just going to apply, whatever, why not? So I applied and I was able to make it, very personal, like very like, I mean, it was genuine. I really genuinely like what they do. And so I think that came across in the letter, and I got an email back, I think within a day or two, and they had already taken the job post down. Like it was done. It was down like the next day. And I had an interview, and that was it. This agency is very like decisive. So I got the job, and it was originally to work on, again, some emails. And I had the experience. I had the time. I was like, I was able to talk about it, but then it's been sort of, I found like, you do good work, you be a good communicator, hit those deadlines, don't just disappear, communicate if something happens. And at some point, I think they realized, and they just started giving me, more things to do. They needed some website copy. They needed just different things like a media kit. I was like, I don't know what a media kit is. I have to figure it out. What else? I don't know. But yeah, they're a social media marketing agency. So that's what they primarily do. So sometimes they'll pull me in for like something on social. That's not really what I do, but every once in a while. So it's just a varied amount of work. It's just like a lot of different things that they need me to do, and a lot of different clients. And for someone like me who was really scared about having to like niche down, this has been like amazing, because one day I could be working on a dog trainer client's, sales emails, marketing emails. And then the next day I'm working for a nonprofit that's, arts and arts integration nonprofit. And it's just like, it's so different. And it's so interesting and so challenging. And I love that.
That's amazing. So cool. Yay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Terrific. And now you are also still working as an attorney. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I still do that because I thought I just had to quit altogether. I was at that point where I have to quit. But the firm I work for, I mean, I do love them. They're great. And the attorney I work for, she's like one of my best friends. So it's like, I think I had to find the right balance for me. I can't do it full time, but I still enjoy working with her. I still enjoy the work. The work is challenging. I still enjoy that challenge. And I think for me, that's really part of it. And so yeah, like today, I mean, I could start working on like doing some assignments for the agency, and then I was switching to working on some family law. And after this, I'll go back and forth. So it's just a lot of different work, and I just love the variety.
Yeah, certainly keeps things fresh. Not just variety with copywriting, also variety between two very different careers. Very cool.
For sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you speak to that? I guess, is it nice to have a mental break, I imagine, from like not having to think about anything law related when you're doing copywriting? Because I know some people, obviously there's your experience you can draw from and build on for your USP. As CCA students know, that your background can certainly be an asset to you, but not, I guess, having to go all in on law copywriting, or I'm only going to work with lawyers and help them build their websites. Can you speak to, I guess, just that aspect of it?
It is such a relief, I guess, being able to do something else, because litigation in general, whether it's family law or something else, it's so draining. I know a lot of friends who have burnt out from it. And even for people who are really good at it, it's hard after a while. And so for me, it's just like, I feel so much lighter being able to work on things that are, I don't know, just the words, like, I feel excited about working on other things. I feel hopeful, even if I'm not particularly like, I don't know much about this field, or I'm not so sure about this, I'm not entirely, but it's such a great change. And it's also fun to be able to try and get in that mindset of like, okay, well, I'm not personally, this is not my thing, but like, what would make someone else want this? And I like that. I like being able to like step into somebody else's shoes. So it's so different. It's such a relief. And it is, but I definitely did stay away from wanting to work doing like legal copyright. I didn't want to like work for, I've seen a couple of those like positions. I'm like, no, I just can't. I can't do it. It does not sound fun to me. Maybe somebody else will. I get it. But it's like, I have to like make a break from it in some ways.
Exactly. Well, and you get to choose.
Cool. Yeah. I love that you found the balance though of like, oh no, wait, I still like my career. I just like it in a smaller portion.
Yes.
And
yeah. Smaller
so
dose
cool.
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and so
cool.
how has adding copywriting into the mix affected your family life? Since I know that was a big issue when you were just a full-time attorney.
Yeah, it's been really great. Honestly, I have so many more options now, including family, like with family life, because I can set my own schedule. And that's not to say I'm not busy. Like I'm really busy. And there are nights where I'm like, okay, I have to take off time during the day, but I'll work later. And I don't mind. Like I'm a night owl, so that doesn't matter. But I love being able to set my schedule and being able to walk away if I need to. If I need to go, if there, my older daughter had a couple events this last year where we had to they wanted us there at like 10 or 11 or 12 in the day. I could never have done that before. I couldn't, it wasn't even an option. And now I can do that. Like I can leave the house and go to those things. I can be more involved. Like I joined the PTC at their school, which is like a fundraising group. It's kind of like the PTA, but PTC. Anyway, and it's time consuming and I wouldn't have been able to do that before. And it's something I enjoy. Like it's rewarding and I'm, helping the school and helping my daughters, and I was able to become like a Girl Scout mom. And that's more, it's time consuming. I don't know if I would choose it for myself, but my daughter loves it. And so I do it, and I'm able to do that. And I wouldn't have been able to do that before a few years ago. And so it's really great because I just have more freedom. And I think my husband really appreciates it because I'm not so grumpy all the time. Like I mean, maybe I'm still grumpy, but about other things. Like I would always complain about work to him. Like I would just complain. Like I would just complain to my husband all the time. And I think he was like, well, why didn't you do something about it? I think he's like, at some point, like do something about it. And, he was really the one who was, one day we had like a talk and he was like, so why didn't you just do it? Like, it was such a simple, like, it was just like, it took for so long. And I was like, you know what? I guess I could, it was so like scary for someone who wanted stability, but like, making that, oh my gosh, I had so much like anxiety and like nausea in my stomach those first like couple weeks after I was, making the switch and going from like full-time part-time. But yeah, it's worth it. I think it's the idea of like anything that's worth it, anything like to continue growing, you're going to have to be uncomfortable. You're going to have to be scared. And for me, I hated that. Like I hated being scared. I hate being uncomfortable. And it took too long to realize that, but I finally did, that it really does take that,
Well, and it's so funny because as soon as we move out of something, it's easy to forget how, because I'm going to make the leap that at the beginning of law school, you were probably pretty uncomfortable. It's not like law school's like, oh, yes. All right, this is easy, right? Like you were probably pretty uncomfortable.
If you're Elle Woods,
maybe kind of scared. Yes. Okay. If you're Elle Woods, yes. But as soon as we move out of something, it's so easy to be like, well, but that was different. This right now is uncomfortable. But all of these things that we do, they expand our lives and make it better if we just are willing to just get out of that comfort zone.
For sure. Yeah.
I just love that you got creative too with it. I think sometimes we think like all or nothing. I have to be a copywriter, or I have to, I'm done teaching. I need to fully give that up and go into copy, which we've had teachers do that, and wonderful if that's what you want. Yeah. But I think this is a great example of like, oh, maybe you still like it and can do it, but in that smaller dose and get creative with how you're building your career. So I love that you figured that out and got creative with it.
I mean, I think there's a lot of that's what I love, that being able to sort of create the career I want. And, I think people, it isn't all or nothing if you don't want it to be. Like if you enjoy what you did before, but it was for whatever reason, it's not working or it's not paying enough money or it's draining, maybe make it work a different way. It doesn't have to be like one or the other.
Yeah. And like ask questions, right? Because I imagine you had to have this conversation with the firm you're working for to say, hey, how about I go to part-time? And I think just, people forget that float the idea, and you don't have to commit to a necessary, hey, here's what I'm thinking that I think could be really beneficial to you and me, and here's why, and all of that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it can be kind of like scary to have that conversation, be like, I'm thinking of leaving.
Yeah.
But if you're working for the right people, they'll be understanding.
Right.
Maybe not happy about it, because I can't say my firm was happy about it. But we made it work for sure. Yeah.
I bet they're happier still having you than losing you completely.
Yeah, and that's definitely been the case. The attorney I work for, she's been very vocal about like, please just continue working here. And I don't know if that'll be the case, but for now, I'm happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's no guarantees with anything, right? I think sometimes that's what employers and clients and all of that forget. That we forget.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. So if somebody's listening and they're thinking, I'm kind of interested in copywriting. I've been thinking about it. Maybe they even are an attorney and they're thinking of moving into copywriting. Maybe thinking about the CCA. What would you tell them? What's your advice there?
My advice to them, if they're thinking about it, I guess, there's a reason why you're interested. What got you there? Is it worth pursuing? It's probably worth pursuing. It doesn't hurt to sign up for the course, and you will get the money back if you decide to move forward. My first job I did, it's worth it. I think it's worth it to have options and to investigate and to research. If you're unhappy and if you came across the course, don't just move on. Like, look into it, take a chance, be uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did that taking a chance and being a little bit uncomfortable work out for you?
It worked out pretty well.
That's wonderful. So Leslie, if someone is listening and they're thinking, oh, I like her style. She sounds really cool. Maybe I'd kind of like her to hire. I'd like to hire her to write copy for me. How can someone find you? How can someone reach you?
Well, I guess the easiest way is probably my website, copy-hero.com. Took me a while to get to the website. I was like, you know what? I need to embrace my inner nerd. And then as soon as I realized that, I was like, oh yeah, it just came together after that. But anyway, that's probably the best way to reach me.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And we'll put that in the show notes so it's easy for people to get to. That's awesome. Well, Leslie, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate, everything you guys have done to provide this course to people. Like it's life-changing. It really is. And so I'm really grateful.
Well, thank you. We are grateful for you. And so with that, we will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye, everybody. Like what you heard? Hit subscribe so you never miss a video. And if you're ready to take the first step toward becoming a copywriter yourself, sign up for a free video training right here.